I was having a conversation with my parents the other night, and it inevitably turned to COVID-19, and more specifically, whether we would ever go back to normal. Now, as I was listening to their thoughts on this, on whether we would or whether we would not ever go back to normal, I suddenly realized that their understanding of what the goal is largely similar to what I've been hearing and what I've been reading from the public at large and what they think the goal is. And sorry, Mom, but it's wrong. In most conversations around life after COVID, or if that life even exists, the question seems to be whether there will or there won't be COVID at all. And this just isn't the question that we need an answer to. In 1918 and 1919, the Spanish flu infected a mind-boggling 500 million people, and it killed between 50 and 100 million people. Today, if you get the flu, you don't say that you got the Spanish flu, but that's pretty much what you got. It doesn't affect you in the same way that it affected people in 1918, and that's for a lot of different reasons. And it's something that we deal with by getting flu shots and not hanging around with our grandparents when we know we're sick. One of the main ways we learn about how we need to move forward in the future is by looking back to the past. There is an incredible episode on Radiolab called Dispatches from 1918, and it goes into the evolution of the Spanish flu over time. I highly recommend you go check out that episode. It was released on July 17th, 2020, so you have no trouble finding it. So what is the question that we need an answer to? When it comes to COVID-19, the question we need to ask is, can we stop it from killing us? And can we stop it from overwhelming hospitals? And this is where vaccines, and in particular vaccine efficacy, comes in. 2 or 3 days after I had this conversation with my parents, Vox released this really great video on vaccine efficacy and why vaccine efficacy numbers can cause lots of problems for how we think about vaccines in general. Now, this video by Vox shows a clip of Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan refusing a shipment of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
Johnson & Johnson is a very good vaccine. Moderna and Pfizer are the best. And I am going to do everything I can to make sure the residents of the city of Detroit get the best.
Saying that it's not as good as Pfizer or Moderna, and he's using the vaccine efficacy number that's reached in the clinical trial, which is 66%, to come to this conclusion. But that number doesn't give us the answer to the right question. I highly recommend that you go check out that video. It does an incredible job at giving you a really great visual experience of vaccine efficacy and how those numbers are reached in clinical trials. But what I want to highlight is how each of these vaccines are extremely effective against the thing that matters most. They prevent people from dying, and they prevent people from going to the hospital. Now, don't get me wrong, these vaccines are extremely effective against people getting COVID-19 in the first place. But what we really need to understand is how effective they are, near 100% effective at keeping people out of hospitals and out of coffins. A world in which things are back to normal isn't a world without COVID. It's a world where COVID is very much present, but it doesn't do the things that have made this pandemic so awful in the first place. It's a world in which COVID doesn't kill us, and it doesn't overrun hospitals. Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. Again, I highly recommend that you watch this video by Vox. It really is incredible. It's called Why You Can't Compare COVID-19 Vaccines. And I really recommend that you go listen to that Radiolab episode. They produce a lot of amazing content. But again, that episode that I referenced in this video is called Dispatches from 1918. And it goes into the evolution of Spanish flu over time, but it also kind of really dives into Spanish flu and how it affected the world at that time. And it's really interesting. So if you like this video, I'm sure you'll like both of those things because they're really tied together. Thanks again.